Okay, well, welcome to another educational opportunity brought to you by CPSG University and Elika Access Systems. Our goal here is to deliver quality education content to the access control world in small bites, kind of 1 hour increments if possible or less. So today we've got Thomas Carey, Technical Support Manager, representing Viking Access Systems as well as Elika Access Systems, and he's some bright young talent in the industry, so we're happy to have him. I am Zach Eichenberger, Director of Marketing for Controlled Product Systems Group. So today we're offering a refresher on Elika phone systems. They continue to improve feature sets, including the user interface and additional WIGN ports and Bluetooth credentials, etc. And for some of you, this may be your first introduction to Elika. And in terms of visitor management, we live in really interesting times, right? For years and years, it was just small incremental improvements to performance and feature sets, but the Internet of Things, or the IoT, is bringing constant innovation to our market. So it's very exciting. And these are innovations that your clients are asking for, and quite frankly, they're seeking out on their own, right? There's kind of an expectation in the consumer market for connectivity options, and they just expect that our market will be up to date as well. So kudos to you all for jumping on today and understanding these applications and how these products fit into your portfolio. And I would recommend, as we go through this presentation today, that you consider what type of applications these fit into. You'll see that they fit very well into residential applications, they fit very well into commercial applications, and quite frankly, the aesthetics of the product bridge that gap very, very well. So take that into consideration as Thomas presents. A little bit of housekeeping. We're scheduled for 1 hour. We've got you all muted. We've got a pretty healthy group here, so I would keep yourself muted to maintain audio quality. If you want to ask a question, go ahead and unmute yourself or utilize the chat feature there on your screen. We'll make sure that all of your questions get answered. And in addition, we'll follow up with an email to you with some show notes with the recording if you want to share this with some coworkers and additional information. This is our first time using the Zoom platform for a dealer webinar, so bear with us. I don't foresee any problems. It's a great platform for screen sharing, and obviously we've got the video so we can see our bright, shining faces this morning. So excited to utilize this platform. Thomas, hey, thanks for rushing into the office today. Hopefully you didn't get any speeding tickets on the way in. You probably weren't able to with that kind of traffic, but appreciate you organizing and presenting the information today. So let's get to it.
All right. Thank you so much, Zach. And thank you all for coming in this morning and taking the time out of your busy schedules to learn a little bit more about this product line. And as Zach eloquently put, it is kind of pushing this industry forward, and it is something that's changing the way that we look at access control, really, and changing the way that you can really think about how you put these telephone entry systems in and how you're going to have, visitor management, basically, as Zach stated. So having said that, I just want to thank Controlled Products for giving us this opportunity and this platform to get in touch directly with you guys. I wish we could do stuff like this more, and we as Elika just really extend a big thanks to CPSG as well. So let's go ahead and jump straight into it. I'll start out by just doing a brief refresher on some of the basic specs of the Elika unit, and then we'll talk about the cellular and the voice over IP options, okay? So with the Elika 460, some of the basic things you want to keep in mind. You have 2 relay control as well as 2 WIGN inputs, and then you have 2 dry contact inputs. So any of your devices that you're using that are not WIGN per se, your postal lock, your knock switch, click to opens, any of those can still function with the Elika unit by using those two dry contact inputs. We also have our two 26-bit weekend inputs. So any of the weekend devices that you have been using or you're used to using that have a 26-bit standard output can interface in with this unit. Okay, it's a super simple input. We've got a space for your ground, your data 1, your data 0, and then we also have a plus 5-volt output if you're using some sort of basic reader, or you can get a 12-volt output elsewhere on the board. Okay, you've got capacity for up to 200,000 names, codes, and credentials. Okay, we've totally moved away from using a mem chip, and we're using an actual 8-gigabyte SD card that we send with the unit, and it's just standard, just like the one that you use in your cell phone. There's nothing complicated about it. Okay, now there are two base models of the Elika 460. You have your cellular unit, and then you have your voice over IP unit. And kind of under the umbrella of voice over IP, you can use either Ethernet or Wi-Fi. However, there's no difference in the unit. I want to make that clear. If you purchase the voice over IP unit, the voice over IP module has a space for, it's got an antenna connector for the Wi-Fi antenna, and it's got an RJ45 connector on it, so you can either use Ethernet or Wi-Fi under that voice over IP, no difference. Okay. Along the lines of voice over IP, one of the great things that we've done is you don't have to be an IT expert to set up this unit. You're not going to have to go in there and set up a SIP server or start assigning IP addresses. All that you need to do is register the unit in our web application, provide internet to the unit, and you're ready to go at that point. There's nothing complicated about it. It's incredibly simple. However, let me go ahead and pull up, see, we have Wi-Fi. We have our Wi-Fi specs right here, and this actually comes with the unit. Zach, is that displaying right now?
Yes, yep.
Okay, perfect. So a couple things to keep in mind with the Wi-Fi is you need a 2.4 gigahertz connection. It will not work with a 5.0. Okay, it's got to be 2.4. That is the way that it is set up. If you're trying to use something else, it's not going to work. However, the great thing about that is most routers today are dual band, so they will all have 2.4 gigahertz, a 2.4 gigahertz band that you can use. Now, a lot of people like to ask me what the range of the Wi-Fi is, and it's difficult to say because it's totally dependent on what kind of router you're using. Where is the router located in relation to the unit? Are there trees? Are there bushes? Are there buildings in between? That can all have an effect on the Wi-Fi signal. Okay. Now, the best way I think that I've found to check if we're going to be able to successfully use a Wi-Fi connection to run the unit is there is an app called Speed Test that allows you to check your upload and your download speed of any given network in any given space. Okay, so you can hook up via that Speed Test app, and you can go ahead and, if you look right here on our spec sheet, we need a minimum of a 3 megabit download speed and a 1 megabit upload. Okay, that is our bare minimum that our Wi-Fi unit can function on. If you cannot achieve that with your router where you're going to be mounting the unit, then either we need to get a Wi-Fi extender, which they have great Wi-Fi extenders out there on the market that we've had good success with extending Wi-Fi networks, or you want to consider running an Ethernet cable to the unit. Okay. Now, if you ask me, I would always tell you when you can run an Ethernet cable, simply because it is a solid connection. Okay. With wireless networks, there's just a tendency to sometimes they drop out. Now, on the cellular side of things, we've kind of gone along the same lines to where it's not going to require you to go through an intense amount of setup or anything like that. Okay, we're sending it with an already activated SIM card. So again, all you need to do is register the unit to our web application, and you're ready to go at that point. You don't need to go through some third-party provider and try and get a SIM card, get the SIM card, hook it up into the unit, wait for it to activate. We've gone ahead and done all that for you so that all you need to do is install this unit, provide power to it, and you're absolutely ready to go at that point. Okay.
Hey, Thomas.
Do we have? Yes.
Hey, we got a question via chat. I don't know if this is a good time, but on the VoIP system, the question is, can a unit be set up on the customer's internal IP PBX system as an extension without running through the service?
No. No. The unit needs to be registered through our client and be used with our service.
And quick question for you also, you'd mentioned that a lot of routers have dual band, both 2.5 and 5.0. Is that something you have to go in and set in the router, or is it typically broadcasting on both bands?
Typically, it's broadcasting on both bands, and you'll have actually two separate networks. I know, like at my house with our router that I have a 5 gig network and a 2.4 gig network that are running all the time at the same time. However, I mean, that may be different for different routers. I haven't looked at every single router that's out there at the market, but I know that typically any router that's going to have a 5.0 connection is going to have as well a 2.4 band that you can jump on. So
10.4, thanks.
Okay. Now let's go ahead and talk about the plan pricing. Okay. We'll go ahead and start with the voice over IP. So this is for our voice over IP service, and in this cost, what is provided is your service to the unit and then your access to the web application as well. Okay. So with the voice over IP, we have our first plan, which is $19.99 a month, and that gets you 250 minutes and unlimited data. And then our second plan is $29.99 a month, and that is for unlimited minutes, data, and cloud storage, although cloud storage, unlimited cloud storage is always free. Okay. Now here are our cellular plans. Now we have more options with the cellular just because cellular service is a little bit different. Okay. So our first plan, it starts at $39.95. This gets you 150 minutes, 150 megabytes of data. Okay. And then the cloud databases storage is free. Now, you'll see right here that we say approximate monthly number of combined records and images transferred. Now, we are not limiting the number of transactions that you can do with that 150 megabytes of data. That is simply our estimation of what you are going to be able to achieve. If you can get 200 or 300 transactions out of that 150 megabytes of data, fantastic, okay? But we're not going to limit that. All we're going to limit is the actual data that is being utilized within those transactions, all right? And really the main time that you are going to utilize this data, excuse me, is when you're pulling the pictures from the history. So if you have a customer that is going to be looking at a lot of the pictures that get taken and maybe verifying who's actually coming through, you're going to want to look at stepping up that plan. Okay. Also, if they're going to have a lot of people utilizing the directory codes and calling from the unit, then you're going to want to look at your minutes and you're going to want to adjust that way. Okay. It's totally dependent on some sites. I've seen some sites that use a lot of minute and a lot of data, and I've seen some larger sites that don't use that much minutes and that much data. So really it's dependent on what the customer's need is at the end of the day. However, one of the things that we will do is on any given month, if you reach 90% of your data or your minute cap, we will send you an email to whoever is adminning the account, say, hey, you've reached 90% of your minute or data cap. We suggest that you increase your plan to avoid any overage charges. And that's just a service that we're providing so that, you know, if you want to start out on plan 2 and we realize that, you know, that's not enough, we can go ahead and bump it up and you guys aren't going to incur any of the overage charges, which can be seen right here. It's 25 cents per minute on voice and $1.50 per megabyte on data. Okay. Any questions on that? All right, if we don't have any questions, and if you guys will just give me 1 second, I'll go ahead and pull up the web application, and we can go through a bit of basic navigation on there. And feel free to use the chat feature, guys. I have the chat feature up now, so if you type in your questions there, I'll answer them as I can.
Yeah, just a comment though while you're switching gears there. The amount of calls that we're receiving these days about modem issues are increasing, and both of these applications, obviously via VoIP or cellular, is solving those problems. So we're seeing a massive transition to these types of products, and it's just solving what feels like a lifelong challenge that we've had in the access control industry. So as you run into POTS lines that are no longer being serviced, or you've always had challenges transferring data or getting good voice quality, these are the solutions to those problems. And Thomas, we've got a quick question about payment method. Can one cell unit be used for more than one call box? That's a good question, Joel.
I'm not sure I understand the question.
I think the question would be if you had multiple call boxes on a site, and can you utilize one cellular service or one basic plan to cover both units?
Okay, understood. So right now, it is per unit. You have to have a plan. However, if you're going to have multiple units on one site, contact us, and we can work out something with you guys if there's enough units to get into some sort of family plan or something like that. But it just takes you guys communicating with us that there is a need for that.
And Thomas, are there other payment methods besides credit cards where, gated communities and condominium sites or HOAs don't want to put up a credit card?
At this time, we're only accepting credit card payments. However, we're investigating other ways to take payment, but as of right now, it is with credit card.
Good questions.
Yeah, great questions. Just give me one more second, guys.
You guys don't accept Bitcoin yet?
No, not yet. We're not that far ahead.
Gotta get with the times.
All right. Well, while I get the web app up, let's go ahead and talk about Bluetooth. So, guys, one of the exciting things that we have is we have actually designed a Bluetooth application, and what that is the Bluetooth is a module that plugs into the main board of the Elika unit. Okay. Now, once you have that Bluetooth module, what that's going to allow you to do is within the web application, we can actually send out Bluetooth credentials, and the way that that works is, and we'll go over that when we go through the web app, is you input their email, and then you generate a unique registration key. What it does is it then emails that registration key to the user. Okay. Once that user has the registration key, they will go ahead and download our Elika Bluetooth app. Now, once they have that Elika Bluetooth app, they input the registration key, and it is going to give them access to whichever lock, or we call them locks, or with whichever unit that registration key is associated with. And from that point on, what they're going to be able to do is gain access to the system with their smartphone. Okay, so as soon as they drive up as they're driving up in range of the unit, they can open up the app, and there's two methods of opening via the app, which, hold on, let me see if I can pull this up real quick. So I took some screenshots off my phone, if you guys can see them right here. So this is the application. This is the registration. This is actually the registration page right here. So this is where you will actually name the device right here, and then you'll put in the registration key. You will hit submit, okay? Then it'll come here to the settings, and we can set the lock mode, so we can have it to either be auto or manual, okay? And what that means is with manual, when you drive up to the gate and you have your phone out, it'll ding and it'll let you know that you're within range. At that point, if I scroll back up here, you will see this is the actual screen that you see when you're driving up to the lock. This will actually highlight, brighten up. You will then slide this bar over to here, and that's what will grant you access to the system, okay? Or if we have auto, as soon as you get into range, it picks up the phone. It'll just automatically open the gate without any action required of the user. It's just going to automatically do it as soon as it gets in that range of the Bluetooth, okay? Now, Bluetooth is kind of like with the Wi-Fi, where people ask me a lot, what is the range of the Bluetooth? Well, it is very dependent per device, okay? With iOS, we get a bit more consistency because Apple is one manufacturer. But however, with Android devices, you have several different manufacturers who are all using different Bluetooth hardware. And so the range can differ a bit, okay? It can differ a bit between the actual phones themselves. However, as a rule of thumb, we have 3 settings right here, okay? We have immediate, we have near, and we have far, okay? With immediate, you can assume that it's going to be akin to a prox card, where you're going to have to take your phone, actually put it up close to the unit, and at that point it'll get connected. Or you have near, which we've seen get to about 3 to 5, even up to 10 feet, depending on the device. Or we have far, which can go anywhere from 10 to 25, even up to 30 or 40 feet at times from our testing that we've done, okay? But there is a bit of variation between what kind of phone you're using and what kind of range you're actually going to get on the Bluetooth, just due to the fact, again, that they're using different hardware, okay? Do we have any questions on the Bluetooth?
We have a couple questions on the chat line, and Rick asks a very good question, and I think the question is more around terminology, and as we see these new technologies, I think we need to better understand what VoIP means to us. But the question is, are all VoIP lines created equal? Have you run into issues where your system will not work with particular VoIP lines? You want to unpack that, Thomas?
Yeah. So I guess with voice over IP, what voice over IP or what VoIP actually stands for is voice over internet protocol. Okay. So what that is a protocol that allows you to transfer a voice signal via an internet line, whether that be an Ethernet cable or it is a Wi-Fi signal. Voice over IP is just a protocol. There's no such thing as a per se voice over IP line. Okay. I hope that answers your question. I think I tackled it. You got anything, Zach?
Yeah, let me just jump on there as well. So when we think about VoIP, the first introduction that we probably all got was a commercial phone system for a business went to VoIP, or a magic jack for your home. That's VoIP to an extent. And so there's some thoughts that, oh, we're tying into that VoIP system. And I think what we need to understand here is these are completely separate. We're not tying into a commercial VoIP system. We're not tying into a magic jack. This is an autonomous system that I guess creates its own VoIP network. Right, Thomas?
That's correct. We have our own voice over IP provider, and we're working with, and that we've set up our unit to function with. So once you hook it up to either the Ethernet cable or the Wi-Fi network, once you hook it up to the internet, the unit is going to basically, it'll, for lack of a better term, tunnel out to our server, and that's where you're getting the voice over IP service. Okay. That's where you're getting the SIP service. So.
Yep, great question, Rick, and let us know if we clarified that enough. Bill asked if there's a payment chart somewhere online. Thomas, I don't know if there is. If not, we certainly have them, and I'll provide those post-show. Do they?
Yeah, no, we're not advertising our pricing online. We advertise it to our distribution and forums such as this, but we haven't released it online. So.
And if I could be so bold to say, we don't really know where that's going to go, right? You as a dealer or an integrator may choose to resell that or repackage that to your client. And so is we're best served probably keeping that somewhat tucked away. But obviously as you register, then those fees will pop up. But again, I'll provide those post-show. And this is a good question in regards to Bluetooth. Can the end user send an invitation to a guest to enter by Bluetooth?
Not as of now. That is a functionality that we are working on. However, as of right now, we decided it would be best to just leave it as a single user functionality. If the guest wants to come in, they'd be better pressed to call them utilizing the directory code from the system.
Hey Thomas, we've received requests from security integrators to handle the hosting in their own cloud. Today, is that available for them to kind of buy the software and host with their own cloud services?
As of right now, the cloud service needs to be ran through us. It is a service that we're providing. We are hosting it on our own servers in our own back end. And as of right now, I don't know if I want to use the word comfortable, or we haven't just had the need to push it out to other people. In the future, that may be something that we look at doing. However, as of now, we are hosting our software, and that's just the way it's going to be.
A couple more questions. Can we use still use a phone line, a POTS line, or an intercom line with this system?
No, you cannot. That is really the only way that this system will not hook up, and we did that on purpose. We're trying to kind of propel things into the future of what access control is going to look like, and POTS is really not a part of that future in any way. So no, you can't use a POTS line with our unit.
We're cutting the cord. Does the Bluetooth app use data?
No, it does not. No, it does not. The Bluetooth module just projects a Bluetooth signal, and once you've sent that user the registration key, it then gets stored down on the unit, so it's not going to require any data usage between the unit and the cloud to actually grant that person access.
Very good. We'll do a couple more questions and then we'll move on. How do we know if we have a good signal before the customer buys the device? Super important, right, that we do some pre-site surveys to make sure that this product is going to work before we sell it. And you'd mentioned an app previously. Is that the same app we would utilize?
You can use the speed test app to test your data connection. However, with cellular, it's best to call in and we can check our coverage map. We have a very specific coverage map with AT&T, and we're actually working with them to find a way or to find some sort of tool that you as dealers can use out in the field to go out there and check the site and verify excuse me, that you're going to have good enough AT&T service out at the site in order for the unit to function. But as of now, it's probably best to call us directly. We can check that coverage map in conjunction with you being out there with your cell phone and going through a couple of checks that we can do with you. So,
good call. I think there's an app called Open Signal you could probably play around with, but yeah, that's probably best to call in. Last question, then we'll move on. About the plan, the end user could see how much the monthly payment is, but we need to make an extra charge to the end client, and we make the payment to Elika. Could it be hidden? That's probably piggybacking on my comment about reselling to the end user. If
as of now, whoever's adminning the web application will be able to see, basically they could go in there and look at how much they're being charged for the service. However, one thing that we were working on is tiers of administration, to where you can have a super administrator and then sub administrators who have limited privileges as to what they can look at. So that is a feature that will be coming. As of right this second, we don't have it, but that is something that we have taken into account. We will be accounting for here shortly in one of our updates. And that's kind of off tangent real quick. That's one of the great things about using a cloud-based unit, is that we can push any updates that we need to the web application and to your unit remotely without you having to go out there or really requiring any action on your end. So just a little sidebar right there. Looks like we had one more question come up. Is AT&T the only provider? Yes, as of right now, the AT&T is our only provider. We are working to expand that list for you. However, as of now, AT&T is our only provider. And really, 90% of applications that we've seen, AT&T has worked just fine. So, all right, and bear with me for 1 second, guys, and I will get that web app pulled up onto the screen.
Yeah, and I might just reiterate what Thomas is saying there. Again, in the past, if you wanted a new feature, you had to take a phone out and put a new phone in or replace a circuit board. So, it's very exciting to see what Elika has already done as they've added feature sets to the user interface. Even as they've added a second weekend port, they've been able to utilize ports on the board to add that functionality. So it's kind of like your iPhone, or your Droid phone. As you get updates, you get to take advantage of all those feature sets going forward, not just what is available present day.
Correct, Zach. All right, so here is the web application. And as we're going through this, guys, again, if you have any questions or if I breeze over something too quickly, just go ahead and throw a question into the chat, and I will get to them as soon as I can. Okay. So this is the screen that you'll see when you first log into the web application itself. This is actually the unit right here. And then over here, it's going to give us the status of all the major components. Okay, so we can see that this is a cellular unit, and it does not have voice over IP, and it does not have a Bluetooth module plugged into it right now. However, it does have the camera plugged into it. Okay, and I don't think I said this before, but the camera is a standard feature on the unit. Every Elika 460 that you purchase and that we sell comes standard with a day and night digital camera. Okay, now down here on this bottom spot right here, you'll see that we can actually control the relays of the unit. So we can either latch the relays or we can fire the relays. So you can remotely control the unit from right here. If you have someone at your gate, you can log into the web application and go ahead and let them in that way. We are also going to be releasing a remote app that will essentially have the same functionality, but just tied up into an application that may be a little bit easier to use on your phone than the web app. Okay. Now, moving forward, when you're going through the web application, you'll see all these little bubbles down here. And if we jump, these will expand, and you have different information in each one of them. Okay. Now, with the advanced settings, that's really where you control most of the function of the unit, other than go ahead and adding users, which we do right here. Now, we have three methods of adding users. Okay. We have the add a single user, which is probably the most detailed and time-consuming way to add a user. Then we have the import CSV file, which leverages Microsoft Excel, of course, in a CSV format, and allows you to put all your users in that way. And then we have add multiple users, which is kind of akin to the import CSV file. It's just a faster way to add large quantities of users. Now, jumping back over to the CSV file, one of the things that we've done is that if you have another device's CSV export, you can upload that into our web application, and then you just assign the headers, and you can actually use someone else's CSV export to import users into our unit. Okay, it looks like we've had a couple questions pop up. Let me go ahead and jump on these. Can the camera be integrated? No. So with the camera, the way that the camera works is what it does is it takes pictures and it stores them into our history, basically our history, our transaction feed of the unit, which we can go ahead and take a look at here in a minute when we go through the advanced settings. Then we have, can there be multiple admin logins, examples so we can help customers remotely? Yeah, Bill, that is what we are working on. We don't have that function right this second. However, in one of our next releases, probably coming within this next month, we are going to be providing that functionality of multiple administrators. So you'll have a master administrator and then a couple sub-administrator privileges that you can grant, so that you can maybe be the master administrator while still allowing your customer to go in there and edit information as needed.
Thomas, one more question there, I think came in before the camera. What's the range for the data line for the customer's home to the call box? And I assume we're talking about VoIP at that point.
With an Ethernet cable, I believe they don't recommend you run them over like 300 feet, if I'm not mistaken. However, they do have repeaters that you can use if you have to run it farther than that. Okay. Then it looks like we've got E. Castro. So instead of video recordings, you're grabbing JPEG. Correct. That is absolutely correct. We're grabbing a JPEG picture that gets then stored with a timestamp and all the information that you can pull up later, historical transaction. From Joaquino, can we install a Wiegand radio receiver for transmitters with 318 megahertz frequency? Again, all we're looking for is the 26-bit standard output. So as long as your receiver is outputting in a 26-bit standard format, it doesn't matter what the transmitters are transmitting at, because that's the communication between the transmitter and the receiver. What I'm worried about is the communication between the receiver and the Elika unit. Okay, so as long as it has a 26-bit standard Wiegand output, you're fine. Any other questions? I see some people type in, so I'll go ahead. Give it a second before I jump back in. Okay. All right, great questions, by the way, guys. Great questions. I'm really glad you guys are asking. Oh, looks like that question just came in. Is there like relays, etc.? There's a bit of space inside of there. I wouldn't say there's a whole ton of it, but there is some space for extra stuff if you need to put it in there. Yeah, absolutely, Joaquino. We are working on the live video communication that's going to come out when we release our next two units, the 92 and the 76. That is a feature that we're going to have. Absolutely.
So here's that product. This is how you do.
All right. There's no other questions. I'll go ahead and keep pushing along with the web application. So you'll see that we have all these users broken down right here. Okay. And you can see, we can see exactly how many of each credential type that they have. And this is where I can look at all my users, and then I can come here, and if I want to just delete a couple of the users, I can check this box and this delete users will pop up right there. Or I can also deactivate all of their credentials right here. Okay, so if I want to just deactivate someone, I can check that box, hit refresh users, and go ahead and accomplish that right there. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the Bluetooth credential, just in case you guys didn't understand that fully. So I'll go ahead and I'll go right here and I'll add a Bluetooth code. And then right here, I will go ahead and generate the key that I was talking about. And then I will enter the user's email address. And then if I want to go ahead and restrict how they're going to use the unit, I will come right here and I can set it to auto or manual. And then I can also set the range right here. So set it to far, near, immediate. Now those settings can also be sent at the user group level so that you don't have to individually change them per each credential. If we create a user group and define those things prior to, as soon as we add this code, it would just automatically inherit those different securities and the options that we've added for the unit. All right. Go ahead and back out of there, and we'll go through the advanced settings. So right here, walking through the advanced settings, right here, this first one, master code and clock settings, you can actually change the master code to the unit, which is used to get into some of the more advanced programming options. And you can also change the clock settings right here, so we can change the time zone that the unit is in if for any reason you need to do that. We then have our general settings, and this is where you set things like the talk time and access granted key, how bright the LEDs will be, and basically how the system is going to react. We then have our 7-day timer right here. We give you guys 7-day timer options, so any of those that you need to set up, you can continue to do that right there. We have LCD welcome message right here, and the Elika does have a 4-line LCD display, and we can program a welcome message that will display after a couple minutes of inactivity, as long as someone's not going through the directory. Okay. We then have toggle codes, which are pretty self-explanatory. That's where we can create latch codes or toggle codes or anything like that. Then we have our diagnostics right here, which if something happens with the unit, such as a low power event or something like that, we can actually go into the diagnostics and look at what that was. It looks like we've had another question come up, so let me go ahead and take this question. That is correct, Russ. It is just a JPEG image, and it is not sending it to their phone at this time. It's viewable in the history of the unit, which we'll actually see right here. I'll go ahead and pull up the history and just show you guys how that will display. Give me one second. So when we're searching the history, the first thing that we want to do is go ahead and select a range for the history that we're going to be looking for. And it's actually pulling it from the unit's SD card right now where it is stored. So we can see that we have all these different events that have happened right now. It looks like most of them have been the door opening and closing, but we also have had some keypad events, okay? First thing it's going to give us is a timestamp, okay? And then if there is a name associated with the credential that was used, that'll go right here. It'll tell us what the actual event was, so we can see that the master code was entered in on the keypad right there. And if I continue scrolling over, it'll show me the actual code that was used. And then we'll see right here that it's going to give me a link to a JPEG. And that is where the actual image is displayed. Okay, that's where we can download the images that are taken from the unit. All right, does that make sense to everyone? So moving on down, we have data usage right here. We can see the data usage of the unit, how much data have you incurred throughout the month. We then have user groups, which is where you can set basically blanket days of the week, time zones for the users to be valid, their credentials to be valid. We could say it is close to something like security levels. That is where you would set that up in your user groups. Okay. Now it looks like we've reached about the last 10 minutes of the webinar right here. So I'd like to go ahead and leave it open for Q&A. So if you guys have any questions that you felt didn't get answered, let's go ahead and take this time right now to answer them. You can go ahead and jump on the chat line, and we'll go ahead and get that done. So for the residential units, the 92 and the 76, we're looking at about first quarter of next year for those units to be out and about. With the larger, more commercial units moving into later next year, we should have those units out or have more information available as to the release dates.
And Thomas, you might have mentioned, but the remote app, I know you're pretty close to finishing that up. Do we have a expected ETA on the release?
I would say within about the next month or so, it should be fully released and fully functional. Let's see. B. Clark, when multiple admin features enabled, we'll be able to restrict viewing the charges. Yes, you will. E. Jones, has any thought been given to offering a discount on the cell data plan rates so we can resell those at published rate or market rate up? Yeah, we have thought about doing that, and we're looking into different ways to do that. We're looking at maybe family plans or unit discounts, but that is something that we will be moving into potentially within the next couple months. Joel, what's the total number of photos that can be stored, and does the unit just auto-delete the old photos? It's up to about 100,000, Joel, and yes, it does just start auto-deleting once you've reached that max capacity. Can we assign relays to specific operations? Not sure I understand that question. Zach, you have any input on that one?
Yeah, I would say, so you've got 2 relays on board. I'm assuming we want to use one relay for maybe hold open would be separate relay 2 versus relay 1. Can we specify that in the user interface? Maybe another
absolutely. Absolutely, you can. You can separate out the relays in their functionality, so you can break them in between the 2 Wiegans, the 2 inputs, or even with different credentials. The relays are individually programmable.
And can we program cards by blocks right now? So block load.
The easiest way to do that is via Excel, to just start at the bottom, to use the CSV file uploader, just to start at the bottom of your block with the first 3 numbers, and then go ahead and drag it down to the top of your block that way. So how will the new units vary from the 460 that we are looking at now? Well, I mean, they're going to look different for one. For 2, we'll have a couple of different features released by then. I'm not sure. Maybe you can get a little more specific with the question.
Maybe bring up the website and just give them a sneak peek at the form factor of the 76 and 92 and kind of the basic distinctions between the 2. I think those models are going to be big sellers in the market. So
yeah, absolutely. Let me see if I can go ahead and get that pulled up real quick. So with the 92, the 92 is going to be a residential true to form telephone entry system, but what it's also going to have is video calling. Okay, so you'll actually have a Skype type call platform where you will be able to have a conversation and see who exactly it is at your gate at all times, and have a live conversation with them while they're calling in, if you choose to. It'll all be selectable within the app that will come out with the companion app for the 92 and the video calling, whether you just want to have a voice conversation, or if you actually want to have a video conversation, or if you don't even want to talk to them, because it's going to take a picture when that call is made, and it'll show you that picture when you're answering the call to see, hey, maybe I don't even want to talk to this guy. Okay. With the 76, that is going to be, I would say, more of just a residential keypad. However, it will still be programmable through the cloud, and you will still be able to use the Bluetooth functionality with it. Okay, and you will also be able to use the Bluetooth functionality with the 92. Can we use the timer to lock out some users certain times of the day so the people can only enter during the... Yeah, you would actually use the user groups functionality for that. You can set up a time zone that their credentials are valid, and they will be locked out at any other time other than that time zone. So yeah, that would be done through user groups. What would be the process on the card programming using Excel? Well, we would use our CSV uploader. Maybe I'll hit that one at the end. When you refer to residential units, are these intended for multifamily applications? Absolutely, they'll be able to be used for multi-family applications if you would like to. Yes.
Yeah, there's a, what is it, a 4-line display, 5-line display? They can
Correct.
Scroll through, find the tenant, and make a call.
Yep.
There was another question previous. Do you have the VoIP residential phone entry available now? Yeah, it's residential or commercial, VoIP/Wi-Fi. So direct connect via Ethernet or Wi-Fi. That's available today. Absolutely.
Correct. Yes, sir.
We've got inventory on hand.
Let me go ahead and pull up. So you'd asked the question, it looks like that was Joaquino, what would the process on the card programming using Excel look like? I'll go ahead and just show you real quick. So
and we're
download our. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, while you're doing that, Thomas, I know we're coming up against the 1 hour mark, so I just want to be conscientious of your time. Obviously, you can jump off at any time, but if you can hang in with us, you'll catch a few more tidbits. But again, if you jump off, I just appreciate you taking the time to get on this session today. I see many people coming in via their cell phones, which is cool, and that's kind of our goal, right, was to give you some on-the-go information where you could jump in and you didn't have to take half your day to go to a seminar or a trade show or something like that. So I think we're accomplishing our goal there. And again, thanks to you, Thomas, for organizing and presenting. And if you guys get a chance, jump on that elikaaccess.com website. There are a lot of good training and instructional videos there for you that will support an existing site or give you some details so that you can better sell the product.
Absolutely. And just to kind of piggyback on that, we just want to, again, thank you guys for taking the time to actually be here and allow us to talk to you about this new exciting stuff that we have. And any questions that you guys have, feel free to reach out to your local CPSG branch, or you can call us over here at Elika directly, and we are more than willing to walk through the process with you and just make sure that you're 100% comfortable with this product and presenting it as an option to your customers. G. Jones, you have two Wiegand inputs that can be separated out, but you can hook up as many readers into there as you want to. So if you wanted to hook up two different card readers into the same Wiegand input, that's absolutely fine with us. But as far as relays and Wiegand inputs, you have two of each. So. And then it looks like Joel, is there a standard key for opening up the unit for service that will work on all units? So, I mean, when we send the unit out of here, you have the master code, which will allow you to get into some of the more, again, advanced programming options of the unit. I'm not sure.
I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's a security screwdriver bit that's used to actually access the unit. So that's what you need. We send one with the unit for you guys to have. So. So to address the question on the how we would go about programming the cards via Excel, let me go ahead and get this fully opened up. I went ahead and downloaded our CSV template off the website so that I can show you guys how you would actually do that. This is it. So say that we have our facility code is 352. And that's going to be my facility code for my cards. I could just go ahead and drag that down here. There I have 352, and then let's say my block starts at 11115. Then we have 111116 and 111117. What you would go ahead and do with Excel right here is you highlight all of these, and then you can drag this down, and as you can see, it's going to go ahead and count us all the way out as far as I want to go. So as of now with our system, this is the easiest way to input large blocks of cards that you guys have, and then we can just upload all this information at once into the web application.
Yeah, another example would be if you're working with an HOA or a property manager and they have a list of tenants that they want to bulk load in there, they could send you that file via CSV. And then you could just simply change the headers to exactly match what Elika is utilizing, and then very quickly be able to upload that data to the unit. And maybe to jump out on a limb here, if you are retrofitting an older POTS unit by brand whatever, if they provide a spreadsheet that you could export out of that legacy software, then you can reconfigure it again to match Elika's headers, and then again in one foul swoop you are going to bulk load that data into the Elika cloud and then down to the unit. So it makes it very easy to transition older legacy products into a new Elika system.
That is absolutely correct, Zach. Let's see if I missed any questions. So it looks like we've answered most of the questions that we've had so far. If I missed anything, or again, if there's anything that you're not 100% clear on, please feel free to ask while we have the time right now. It's an open forum for you guys, so I'll just kind of hang back and see if we have any more questions come in.
So again, folks, I will follow up with some post-show notes, more information about Elika access systems, a recording of the session. I'll put those plan costs into that email as well. And feel free to contact your local CPSG branch for more details or pricing information. Thomas, can't thank you enough for putting this together. You're a unique combination of millennial, technician, but you still have a personality. So you're just the right guy for these type of sessions.
Well, thank you, Zach. I appreciate that.
Thomas and Zach, this is Brian Hewitt, President of Control Products. I want to thank you guys both as well. Excellent presentation. This is cutting edge technology. It takes a little while to wrap our brains around where the industry is heading and how these products fit our future customer needs. And I think the people on this call are doing a good job staying ahead of that curve. So thank you all for attending. Zach, I don't know if you want to give everybody your email address in case anybody doesn't have it and they want to follow up with you immediately, or if you've already gathered that data, but now might be a good time there as well.
Yeah, I'll even go a step further. When I send the post-show notes, it'll have all my contact information, my cell number. I'm pretty accessible, so feel free to contact me. And I love having these conversations. I'm a little bit of a nerd when it comes to this stuff, so feel free to reach out.
Thank you all.
All right, thanks everybody. Have a great day. We'll talk to y'all real soon.
Yes, most.
All right.